everybody. For as long as I can remember, I have been a big fan of the Street Fighter series, dating back to playing my cousin's copy of Street Fighter 2 for the Super Nintendo, and it was the game that solidified the fighting genre for both the arcades and its home console ports. And between 1991 and 1994, Street Fighter got so many versions and upgrades to the point where we wondered whether or not we were going to get a Street Fighter 3. And however, in 1995, Capcom offered a different Street Fighter, which serves as an interquel between Street Fighter 1 and 2, Street Fighter Alpha, or Street Fighter Zero in Japan. And shortly prior to its debut, the animated movie premiered in Japan, and that served as the inspiration for Alpha, which took a more solidified anime-inspired look and brought back some characters that were both in Street Fighters 1 and 2, along with some original ones. Naturally, the game became a big hit and spawned two sequels that improved over the last, and I'm here to review you Street Fighter 03 for the Sega Dreamcast. And for this review, I will be interchangeably using 03 and Alpha 3. And as to why it became Alpha 3 or Alpha in the US, Capcom of America thought Zero had too much of a negative connotation to it, and considering there was an interquel, they thought Alpha was the most, natural way to express this franchise. So yeah, let's go for broke as I review you Street Fighter 03 for the Sega Dreamcast. The game pretty much features all the characters from up to Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, the previous Alpha games, and a couple of new characters running up to, let's say, around 34 characters. Some new characters include Mika, another professional wrestler, Karin, a rival from Sakura, who was previously introduced in a manga called Sakura Gambaru, and lastly, Cody from Final Fight. I know in the PlayStation release you had to unlock some of the characters, but for the Dreamcast version, every character is already unlocked for you to choose to enjoy an arcade playthrough or playing two players with somebody. And with some characters new and old introduced to Alpha 3, whether it be Guile or Mika, they're animated very well to suit the anime-influenced style of this section of the Street Fighter franchise. The game still plays like your traditional Street Fighter, and you have characters like Ken and Ryu who use motion control attacks such as their Hadoukens or Tatsumaki Senpukyakus, and there are other characters like Guile and Charlie that are more charging oriented with how you activate their attacks such as their sonic booms and flash kicks. The game should pretty much come almost second nature to Street Fighter veterans, while those that are new should take time to practice through a training mode in order to get the basics down. Once again, super combos are included, but you're given three systems, or isms. You have Z-ism, which is consistent with the previous Alpha games, where you have a 3-meter bar. If you activate, let's say, use Shinko Hadouken at level 1, it'll do minimal damage, but if you fill it up to level 3, it'll do maximum damage. Next you have X-ism, which is pretty much the combo meter from Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And since it takes influence from that game, defensive mechanisms introduced in Alpha such as air blocking, ground recovery, and Alpha counters are also rendered unusable if you play with X-ism. V-ism is the newest feature introduced, and by activating it, it allows you to use custom combos, but with shadows like in a super combo to add more damage. Since I'm reviewing the Dreamcast version, I will acknowledge and agree that the Dreamcast controller or any 4-button layout controller aren't ideal when it comes to playing Capcom fighters that are more of a 6-button layout. I do own the Saturn version, which I got over 15 years ago in Akihabara, but it's sitting in my parents' house in Arizona. Of course, there are suitable alternatives for this for the most hardcore players. For starters, arcade controllers are one option for the purest of fighting gamers, and I do have a few of them myself, and they play well with this game and are 6 buttons in terms of layout. And for those that love the Saturn controller, there are two options. One is the official ASCII controller, which can range from 7,000 to 10,000 yen, or you can get a converter for your Saturn controller, which is what I primarily use, and that cost me 4,000 yen. I love the Saturn controller, so I wanted to keep using it for consistency's sake, and this converter allows me to play with it, and it works very well for me. In addition to the arcade mode, you got survival mode, world tour mode, and dramatic battle to enjoy. Survival mode is essentially how many characters you can beat until you lose. World tour mode is where you pick a character and level them up. Dramatic battle is where you and another character take on another, which was already introduced as a secret bonus stage in Street Fighter Alpha 1, where you have Ken and Ryu fight M. Bison like in the movie. However, for a dramatic battle in this game, two characters will have separate life bars, while Ken and Ryu in Alpha 1 shared one life bar in that game. But from what I played, you only share one super combo meter in Alpha 3. Yes, I know that reverse dramatic battle is a thing in the Saturn version, but in the Dreamcast version, you can get reverse dramatic battles in the survival and/or world tour modes. With all this content and characters, it's a game that can be enjoyed either single player or with your opponent. Considering how expensive the Saturn version can get these days, I find the Dreamcast version to be a very viable alternative. I understand the PlayStation 1 port is also good, but I've never played it enough to make that judgment. But considering my bias, I recommend getting the Dreamcast version and get yourself an appropriate arcade controller or a 6-button layout control for it for a full and authentic enjoyment. I say if you're a veteran of the Street Fighter franchise, or if you're someone who wants to get into it, I say Street Fighter Alpha 3 is a very excellent starting point for you to get started and familiar with.